Biblical constructions versus modern mega projects. Are we repeating history? Welcome to Bible Pathways. Have you ever heard of constructions so grand they seem to defy logic? Throughout history, monuments have been built with unimaginable wealth and ambition. Some have stood the test of time, while others mysteriously crumbled. But behind these magnificent structures lie deeper mysteries, hidden messages, and divine truths that continue to intrigue scholars, scientists, and believers alike. The Bible mentions some of the most remarkable buildings ever constructed, each one carrying a profound spiritual lesson. Some were built in obedience to God's will, others as a testament to human ambition. Some served as sacred places of worship, while others became symbols of pride and downfall. But what about today? In our modern world, engineers and architects are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, constructing record-breaking megastructures that challenge our understanding of technology, sustainability, and faith. What can we learn from these awe-inspiring creations? Could the stories of ancient biblical constructions still hold relevance for us today? In this video, we'll journey through 5 of the most incredible biblical structures and compare them to modern engineering marvels, some of which mirror biblical lessons more than we might realize. Stay until the end, because the last one will leave you speechless. And before we dive in, if you love exploring the connections between faith, history, and the modern world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Bible Pathways. It helps spread these powerful stories and keeps you updated with more inspiring content. Now let's get started. Noah's Ark, the impossible ship versus today's sustainable mega projects. Imagine being given an assignment so massive, so beyond human capability, that the entire world mocks you for even attempting it. No modern tools, no construction crews, just raw materials, relentless determination, and unshakable faith. That's exactly what Noah faced when God commanded him to build the ark. A structure unlike anything seen before, the ark was to be a refuge, a floating fortress designed to withstand the fury of a cataclysmic flood. Its dimensions were staggering, approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high, almost the size of a modern cargo ship. But how could one man, with no cranes, no steel, and no advanced tools, accomplish such a feat? Noah began his work in obedience to God's command, cutting wood, carving joints, and assembling massive beams. Decades passed under the scorching sun as he endured ridicule from those who called him foolish. People saw no sign of rain, no evidence of a coming disaster. Yet, Noah pressed on, unwavering in his trust. But here's the question: could something of this scale really have been built in ancient times? Could an event as massive as a global flood have truly occurred? Scientists and historians have debated this for centuries. Geologists have found evidence of massive flooding in the Mesopotamian region, suggesting that a catastrophic event may have submerged large areas thousands of years ago. Some believe this could have been the historical basis for the flood story recorded in Genesis. Even more intriguing are the numerous expeditions to Mount Ararat in Turkey, where some claim to have found remnants of Noah's Ark. In 1959, a Turkish pilot flew over the region and photographed a structure resembling the hull of a massive ship. Since then, multiple teams have investigated, uncovering petrified wood fragments and geological formations consistent with a large vessel. But the debate continues. Was it truly Noah's Ark, or just a natural formation? Regardless of the scientific discussions, one truth remains: Noah's Ark was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of divine protection, a testament to faith in the face of ridicule, and a reminder that obedience to God can lead to salvation. Now, fast forward to today. Engineers and architects are still pushing the boundaries of construction, creating record-breaking structures that challenge our understanding of sustainability and resilience. And one project in particular bears a striking resemblance to Noah's Ark, not in shape but in purpose. In Brooklyn, New York, a groundbreaking development called The Rivery is making history. It's the city's largest all-geothermal-powered apartment complex, designed to withstand environmental challenges and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Instead of wood and pitch, engineers have harnessed geo-exchange technology, using the Earth's natural energy to heat and cool the building. This innovation mirrors the Ark's mission in an unexpected way. Just as Noah built a vessel to survive a world-altering flood, today's architects are designing buildings that can withstand the environmental shifts of our modern era. Climate change, energy shortages, and increasing natural disasters pose serious threats to humanity's future. Could projects like the Rivery be our modern-day Ark, offering protection against the storms to come? The Bible tells us that when the rains came, the world was unprepared, except for one man who listened, believed, and acted. Today the question is, are we listening? Are we preparing for the challenges ahead? Perhaps the lesson of Noah's Ark isn't just about a ship that saved humanity long ago. It's about how faith, vision, and action can still shape the future, whether through obedience to God's call or through innovative solutions that protect generations to come. What do you think? Could sustainable mega-projects be a sign of humanity's growing responsibility, or are we simply repeating history, waiting until disaster strikes before taking action? Let us know in the comments. The Walls of Jericho, crumbling with a sound versus today's earthquake-proof designs. Imagine standing before a city so well fortified that its walls seem impossible to breach. Towering above, thick and impenetrable, they were built to withstand any army, any siege. The people inside were confident. No force on earth could bring them down. And yet one of the most astonishing events recorded in the Bible tells us that these colossal walls did not fall to battering rams, fire, or catapults. They crumbled because of something far more mysterious, the sound of trumpets and the shouts of faith. This is the story of Jericho. Jericho was one of the oldest and most fortified cities of the ancient world. According to the Bible, the Israelites had wandered the desert for 40 years, and the final obstacle before entering the Promised Land was this seemingly unconquerable stronghold. God gave them an unusual command. They were to march silently around the city once a day for 6 days. No weapons, no attacks, just a silent procession. Then, on the 7th day, they were to march around it 7 times. At the final lap, the Sakshin, priests would blow their trumpets and the people would shout with all their might. And then something incredible happened. The walls of Jericho collapsed completely. But how? Could the sound of human voices and trumpets alone cause a structure that massive to crumble? For centuries, scholars and archaeologists have searched for explanations. In the 1950s, British archaeologist Kathleen Kenyon conducted excavations in Jericho and made a stunning discovery. The walls had indeed fallen. But what shocked researchers the most was that they appeared to have collapsed from the inside out. This is highly unusual because in typical sieges, invading armies knock down walls from the outside. Some scientists have suggested a natural explanation. Jericho is located near a fault line, making it prone to earthquakes. Could it be that the Israelites' shouts just so happened to coincide with an earthquake that shook the foundations of the walls? The odds of such perfect timing, however, seem almost impossible. Could this be a case where faith and science meet? Lessons from Jericho in the modern world fast forward to today, and the question of structural resilience remains as crucial as ever. Modern engineers strive to design buildings that can withstand disasters, not collapse under them. One of the greatest threats to modern infrastructure is power failure during natural disasters. Without energy, even the strongest buildings become vulnerable. That's why Tesla is now developing one of the most ambitious energy projects in the world, a utility-scale battery plant in Texas. This facility is designed to store massive amounts of renewable energy, ensuring that when disasters strike, the power grid remains stable. Just as the people of Jericho believed their walls were indestructible, today's societies often place blind faith in infrastructure that may not be as resilient as we think. The fall of Jericho teaches us an important lesson. No matter how strong something appears, it can crumble in an instant, unless it is built on a foundation of true strength. What walls do we trust today? The Israelites didn't take down Jericho's walls with brute force. They did it through obedience, faith, and divine intervention. Today we rely on physical walls, steel-reinforced buildings, power grids, and infrastructure we believe will keep us safe. But are we investing enough in resilience? Are we preparing for the unseen threats that could bring modern society to its knees? The Bible tells us that faith can move mountains. Maybe, just maybe, it can bring down walls too. What do you think? Was Jericho's fall a miracle, an earthquake, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments. And if you love exploring the powerful lessons hidden in ancient stories, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Bible Pathways. There's so much more to uncover. Solomon's Temple, the golden marvel versus today's architectural feats. Imagine a building so grand, so breathtaking, that its very walls seem to glow with the radiance of heaven itself. A structure where gold adorned every surface, where massive cedar beams from distant lands infused the air with their sacred aroma, and where the very presence of God was believed to dwell. This was Solomon's Temple, a masterpiece of ancient architecture and a symbol of divine connection. The Bible tells us that King David longed to build a house for God, but that privilege was given to his son Solomon. The location was not chosen at random. Mount Moriah, the very place where Abraham had once been tested in faith, was destined to hold this sacred monument. But this was no ordinary temple. Every element, every detail was crafted with divine purpose. The stones used in the construction were cut and shaped far away from the temple site, ensuring that no hammer or chisel was heard during the building process, a command given by God. How was it possible to transport and assemble massive stone blocks so precisely without the tools of modern construction? Even today, scholars remain in awe of the engineering sophistication of Solomon's era. But the true wonder lay inside. The temple's interior was covered in pure gold. Every surface shimmered in celestial brilliance. Carved cherubim, palm trees, and intricate floral designs adorned the walls, creating a scene that seemed almost otherworldly. At the heart of the temple was the most sacred place of all, the Holy of Holies. Here rested the Ark of the Covenant, the most mysterious artifact in biblical history. This was believed to be the physical dwelling place of God on earth, where only the high priest could enter once a year to offer atonement for the people. After 7 years of meticulous construction, Solomon's Temple was complete. During its inauguration, something astonishing happened. As Solomon prayed, a glorious cloud descended upon the temple, filling it with divine presence. Suddenly, fire from heaven fell upon the altar, consuming the sacrifices in a powerful display of God's approval. The people of Israel fell to their knees in awe. They had witnessed something miraculous. Engineering. Then versus now, the evolution of craftsmanship. But what about today? We may not build temples covered in gold, but modern architecture is still pushing the limits of craftsmanship, efficiency, and sustainability. In Melbourne, Australia, engineers have constructed the world's first 3D printed multi-story home in just 5 weeks. Using automated technology, this project has reduced construction costs by 30%, offering a potential solution to housing shortages around the world. Think about the contrast. Solomon's Temple took 7 years to complete, requiring massive resources and labor. While today, homes can be printed in just a few weeks with a robotic arm and specialized concrete mix. The precision once achieved through centuries-old craftsmanship is now replicated with digital blueprints and AI-driven construction. The lesson: whether it's an ancient temple built with divine precision or a home printed with futuristic technology, the pursuit of architectural excellence never stops. Sacred. Space is then and now. What are we building? But beyond the materials and methods, there's a deeper question. What are we building today? Solomon's Temple wasn't just about grandeur. It was about meaning. It represented a connection between God and his people. In today's world, we build skyscrapers, luxury homes, and energy-efficient cities. But are we building with purpose? Are we constructing something lasting, not just in brick and stone, but in faith, community, and values? The Temple of Solomon was eventually destroyed. Even the grandest structures of mankind will not last forever. But what remains is the legacy they leave behind. So as technology reshapes the way we construct the world around us, we must ask, are we building for eternity or just for today? The Tower of Babel. Human ambition versus mega skyscrapers. Imagine a world where all humanity spoke a single language. No barriers, no borders. A society united in purpose, working together without limitations. This was the world after the Great Flood, where the descendants of Noah spread across the earth, forming new civilizations. But then something changed. A group of people settled in the plain of Shinar, in what is now modern-day Mesopotamia. But they didn't just want to build a home. They wanted to make a name for themselves. They envisioned a monument so grand, so towering, that it would reach the very heavens. This was more than just a construction project. It was a statement. We will not be scattered across the earth, they said. We will build a tower to the heavens and show our power. And so, brick by brick, they raised the Tower of Babel, an architectural marvel of its time. Unlike the structures built before it, this tower was constructed with innovative technology, kiln-fired bricks and bitumen mortar, a technique far ahead of its time. It was an engineering masterpiece, designed to stand as an eternal testament to human greatness. But then, something unimaginable happened. The fall of the tower, when ambition outweighs purpose. The Bible tells us that as the people worked to raise their tower, God saw their pride and intervened. In an instant, their ability to communicate was shattered. Languages were confused, and where once there had been unity, now there was chaos. The builders could no longer understand one another. Construction came to a halt. The great tower was abandoned. The people who had sought to build a monument to their power were now scattered across the earth. Their ambition had led them not to the heavens, but to division. Skyscrapers of today, are we repeating history? Fast forward thousands of years, and humanity is still building record-breaking towers that reach for the sky. The Burj Khalifa, in Dubai, standing at an astonishing 2,717 feet, is the tallest structure ever built. And the race isn't over. Architects are already planning even taller megastructures, pushing the limits of engineering and human ambition. But have we truly learned the lesson of Babel? Unlike the ancient tower, today's mega skyscrapers serve practical purposes, housing businesses, homes, and innovation hubs. Yet, they also symbolize power, wealth, and human achievement. They are built as statements, as proof that we can conquer the skies. But what happens when ambition outweighs purpose? The challenge of sustainable cities building higher and bigger has always been a goal, but is it sustainable? The construction industry is one of the largest contributors to global carbon emissions, consuming vast amounts of energy and resources. However, a shift is happening. Instead of just focusing on height and grandeur, architects are beginning to prioritize sustainability, designing buildings that work with the environment rather than against it. For example, the Rivery in New York is setting a new precedent. This massive apartment complex is powered entirely by geothermal energy, drawing heat from deep within the earth. By using a geo-exchange system, it eliminates reliance on fossil fuels, reducing its carbon footprint. Similarly, in Melbourne, Australia, engineers have completed the world's first 3D printed multi-story home. Unlike traditional construction, which is costly and wasteful, this method reduces expenses by 30% and speeds up construction time, offering a possible solution to housing shortages worldwide. What are we really building? The story of Babel isn't just about a tower, it's about the danger of pride. When ambition is rooted in self-glorification rather than purpose, it leads to division and failure. Today, we are still pushing the limits of engineering and innovation. But are we building for the right reasons? Are we constructing meaningful, sustainable futures? Or are we simply racing to leave our mark in history? Solomon's temple was built to honor God. The Tower of Babel was built to honor man. One became a place of worship and divine presence, while the other ended in confusion and abandonment. So, as we continue building taller, faster, and more ambitious projects, we must ask ourselves, are we building wisely or repeating the mistakes of the past? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The Second Temple, rebuilding after destruction versus reviving hope through innovation. Imagine witnessing the destruction of your most sacred place, the heart of your faith reduced to rubble. The place where generations before you worshipped, now nothing but ruins. For the Jewish people, this was not just the loss of a building, it was a crisis of identity, of faith, and of survival. The first temple, built by Solomon, had stood as a symbol of God's presence for centuries. But in 586 BC, the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem, demolishing the temple and taking the Israelites into exile. It seemed like the end, but 70 years later, a miracle happened, rebuilding the temple, a testament to faith. After decades of exile in Babylon, the Jews were finally allowed to return home. This was thanks to King Cyrus of Persia, who not only permitted their return, but also decreed the rebuilding of the temple. He even provided resources to help restore what was lost. The task ahead was overwhelming. The city was in ruins, and the temple they once knew was gone. The elders who had seen Solomon's glorious temple, with its walls of gold and sacred treasures, wept at the sight of the new, smaller structure. It was clear that this second temple would not have the grandeur of the first. But then something unexpected happened. The prophet Haggai delivered a message from God. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former. Haggai 2:20. At first, this seemed impossible. How could a simpler, less opulent temple be greater than Solomon's? The answer wasn't in gold or size, but in what was to come, because centuries later, this was the very temple where Jesus Christ would walk, teach, and declare the new covenant. This second temple would hold a greater spiritual significance than the first, not because of its construction, but because of the presence of God in human form. The temple's final destruction, a turning point in history. In 70 AD, history repeated itself. The Romans under Emperor Titus laid siege to Jerusalem, and the Second Temple was destroyed. This marked one of the most devastating moments in Jewish history. Yet just like before, faith survived. Even without a physical temple, the Jewish people continued their worship, their traditions, and their hope. Rebuilding. Today, more than just brick and stone. Fast forward to today, and we see that rebuilding isn't just about reconstructing what was lost. It's about creating something greater. In our modern world, cities and nations rise from devastation, not just physically, but spiritually and socially. The rise of sustainable architecture is a new form of restoration, one that focuses on innovation, resilience, and longevity. Take the Rivery, for example, New York's first all-geothermal high-rise apartment complex. Instead of relying on traditional energy sources, it uses the natural heat of the earth to power homes, reducing energy costs and environmental impact. Similarly, Tesla's Megapack factory in Texas is revolutionizing how we store and distribute power. These massive energy storage systems ensure that entire communities can withstand power outages, an issue that has crippled entire cities in recent years. Both of these modern constructions mirror the story of the Second Temple, projects that don't just restore but redefine what's possible. What is the true foundation of strength? The lesson of the Second Temple teaches us that strength isn't in the materials we use, but in the faith and purpose behind what we build. Solomon's first temple was grand, but it was destroyed. The Second Temple was smaller, yet it held a greater spiritual meaning. And today we are still building, restoring, and innovating. But the real question is, are we building with meaning? Are we constructing homes, cities, and futures that serve only our ambitions? Or are we creating something lasting, something that will outlive us and benefit generations to come? As we look at the world today, we must ask, are we focused on what truly matters, or are we just rebuilding without purpose? Throughout history, the greatest constructions, whether biblical or modern, have been far more than just buildings. They stand as symbols of faith, ambition, and human resilience. They remind us of our desire to build, to create, and to leave a mark on the world. But each one also carries a deeper lesson, one that speaks beyond brick and stone. Noah's Ark teaches us to prepare for the future. It was built not out of convenience, but out of obedience and foresight. Today, as we face climate challenges and natural disasters, Are we taking the right steps to prepare for what's ahead? Jericho's walls remind us that strength without faith is meaningless. No matter how strong something appears, whether it's a fortress, an empire, or even our own sense of security, if it is not built on a foundation of truth, it can crumble. In an instant. Solomon's temple shows us that true beauty lies in purpose, not wealth. A structure covered in gold, filled with grandeur, and built with divine precision. But in the end, its true significance was not in the materials, but in its meaning. Are we building things that truly matter, or are we just chasing material greatness? The Tower of Babel warns us against arrogance. It was an engineering marvel, a testament to human ambition. But ambition, when driven by pride rather than purpose, leads to destruction. Today, as we build taller skyscrapers, faster cities, and groundbreaking technologies, are we moving forward with wisdom, or are we repeating the mistakes of Babel? The Second Temple proves that even after destruction, renewal is possible. Though it was smaller than the first, its impact was even greater, because its significance was not in its size, but in the faith it carried. Likewise, today's greatest constructions aren't just about rebuilding, but about reimagining what's possible. From sustainable buildings to new energy solutions, we have the chance to build something better for future generations. So what do today's mega projects teach us? Are we truly building wisely with faith and purpose? Or are we simply repeating history's lessons, thinking that strength and ambition alone will keep us standing? If this journey through ancient and modern wonders has made you think differently about the past and about the future, take a moment to like this video, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to Bible Pathways. Together, let's keep exploring the powerful lessons that history, faith, and innovation can teach us. May God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.